It's because she's in there.
Okay.
That's why we're not anymore.
So, what is my role really about? This is a new role here at this school, the Exceptional Student Service Coordinator. And essentially what it is just I handle and I coordinate the services for anyone who is who's part of a special population. 504s, special education students, ELL students, gifted and talented. So those are all special populations. So I'll be servicing them as well as coordinating services for them. Susan Manjo, she was here last year as our SPED teacher. She will be here every Wednesday. So she'll be assisting me a lot. Thank goodness. So she'll be definitely my right wing and supporting me. So that's what my role will be here essentially. So I'll be involved in a lot of different areas, and you'll see a lot of me, especially throughout the whole school.
And this may be more for Dan, but have we gotten any gifted and talented testing?
Yes.
Okay.
I did get the results for the COGAT, so I'll definitely communicate. If there is anyone identified, I'll definitely let everyone know who those individuals are. We'll be creating ALP plans for them, and we'll also be creating a committee, like a gifted and talented committee for anyone who might be interested, just so we can really differentiate for them and create some just they learn and they think a little different, so we definitely want to hone in on their skills and their talent. So we'll definitely be doing that. Great question. So active engagement, participation, we're going to do a lot of collaboration, so I look forward to that. We're also going to be using our cell phones, so if you need to use your cell phone, just step out, no big deal. And then finally, active learning experience. Now, one thing that I really loved about this school that really honed in on me is the vision. That one word right there. We kindle enthusiasm. And I'm all about enthusiasm. I'm a very high energy individual, so that's how I treat my students. Sometimes maybe I'm a little too much, so I try to control that. But enthusiasm, that's the vision here at this school. We kindle enthusiasm to craft bold and effective citizen scholars. So overall, right, we want to build some solid individuals. It's not just about teaching to the standards, but also their character, right, in the community. So I really believe in that vision right there, as well as the mission of the school. I always like to go back to that, right? We want to build not only, it says exemplary character. So part of that involves love and logic. We're going to go into that. We're going to dive into that a little deeper next week. So we'll definitely look at that. And it's a very different way of thinking. A lot of times, sometimes we might say, that's just not me. I just can't use that verbiage. And that's okay, to feel that way. But we're going to talk a little bit about why we use love and logic. We got to start with the why. And high expectations. We want to hold our students to high expectations as well. Okay, and I want to definitely help with that since we're going to be discussing discipline. So our objective, right, is in our study of behavior analysis, us, the educators, we will analyze student behavior. We're actually going to formulate a strategy. Okay, we're going to come to the table. We're going to identify, we're going to use a strategy called 531, and we're going to identify one strategy that we can all as a team collectively do to better support our students with that, to be able to increase pro-social behaviors. I don't know how many of you are familiar with DOL. It's something from District 2, demonstration of learning, and exit ticket, same thing. So upon completion, right, what we will all be able to do is identify two new strategies to be able to increase pro-social behaviors in the classroom with 100% accuracy. And then the challenge, it's right there. Formulate one plan to present to your building administrators to decrease suspension rates with 100% accuracy. And I'm all about decreasing suspension rates. And that's a whole different topic. But I definitely look forward to being able to have discussions around reductions and why that's so important as well. Two main essential questions. What leads to students misbehaving? Why do students misbehave? And what effective strategies to help with negative behaviors? Turn to a peer. Take a minute, talk about these two questions real quick. Don't be shy.
With them and
Join us.
take a chance.
Home environment. for like really bad behavior, is this what's going on? These kids
So we did student control.
I mean, like, not. So, kids get bored. Or they're yeah, yeah. Yeah, agree. Agree with that, but that is.
don't engage with their
Routines. Set expectations.
build a positive relationship with the kids. Just try and talk to them as much as you can. If they show it to you, great. If they don't, keep trying. I got something. Or friends if they reach out to me. It really depends on the kids. Well, yeah, it's encouraging you to push him where he's going to push back.
I mean, you are, I think so.
We'll stand his ground.
Alright, let's bring it back in. 3, 2, 2, 1, 1, 0. So let's do a quick share up. What are some what leads to students misbehaving?
Home life.
Home life, right? It seems like the more that we get to understand their home life, the more compassion we can show, and the more, oh, okay, no, that makes sense, right? Anything else?
Bullying.
Bullying?
Yeah.
Disrespect. They just really sometimes don't know how to behave. They haven't been taught to, the way you say that's disrespectful. Oh, I didn't know that. But, okay.
And I feel a lot of it's learned behavior from
Yeah.
parents, disrespect, and lack of respect.
So can we see, that's what I loved about the vision and the mission of the school, because when we talk about truly building a well-rounded individual, it's not only our job to talk about or to teach to the standards, right? Or educate our students, I should say, but it's also to take time to be able to build that character for our students as well, right? So that's good. And then what are some strategies that some of you have used?
Redirect. Just if it's not a major offense, just say, oh, let's put this over here, or give them a task. Like, hey, pass this paper for me.
There you
So
go.
they're doing something.
Hurdle help, help me out, turn on the projector, turn off the lights, right? I like that. That definitely does help. Any other strategies?
Just building a positive relationship with the kid, and as you said, getting to know them and learning more and more about them makes it easier to find, why they're acting out, where the behavior's coming from, and then you can design a strategy based on what you know about the kid and based on that, trust and positive relationship.
Mutual respect goes both ways. You
Yeah.
can't expect respect, you can respect.
Yeah, definitely. I got a story on that one, but that'll be for another time. Let's take our phones out and go to this website, or go to pollev.com/NoelMercado198. and it'll pull up a browser. If you don't have your phone, just share it with somebody. It's no big deal. And
If you connect to the student network, I don't know the password to any of the other ones, but it's CSCA in all caps, the number 4, the kids, exclamation, I think.
Yeah.
That's too much work.
so CSCA for
The kids, exclamation.
like that.
It works a lot better than trying to rely on the network because there's
Yeah.
like no signal in this building.
So what we'll do is, once you do have that up, this will give us a chance once again to collaborate on the next question that's going to be coming up here. Is there anyone who is not logged in yet? I need you to step out, please. I need you to go to the head of school. Right there.
Is it just this screen?
Yep, and then it should, let me take a look here.
Yeah. If you read it, it says that once he puts up a poll, it'll
Oh,
pop up.
Yeah.
yeah, I just got that. Wait, but you're not on the right one. Wait, are you?
No, that's definitely not right.
Our school isn't showing up on
I think I might have to, give me 1 second here.
Students. Yeah, the password. Jan is the only one who can type in the password for the other two. She doesn't share it with us. And I think it's only for the Chromebooks. CFS.
There's nothing for the schools.
No, ours is because I've got one.
Yeah, so it's only showing up.
Actually. Yeah, I don't care.
It just, well, and it sucks that you have to be on Wi-Fi to use it.
Yeah.
It constantly disconnects from the Wi-Fi, yeah.
They
You
don't
have to
work if
use
they're
Wi-Fi.
not on the
Cause there's no
Wi-Fi.
storage on the actual computer, it's all Wi-Fi, yeah.
I'm having some technical difficulties, so
That's
we'll
why
have
it's
this, let's do this
so hard
instead.
to write in there.
This is what I wanted you to input into, what was gonna happen is that everyone was gonna use their phone, put their response, and it was gonna show up here. So I don't know what happened, but we'll just have to do that another time. So what we can do though is share amongst each other is this, from all your experiences in education, identify the main misbehavior within a classroom. So what's the number one or what's the main misbehavior that you've seen in your classroom? And just take like 1 minute just to share amongst each other what you think it is.
Yeah, like laughing.
Yeah, my big thing is just raising hands, not blurring out. Like, it's the most common,
You probably are.
but it's pretty minor in the grand scheme of things. But I think, yeah, just a lack of
It's your-
respect
yeah.
for procedure.
It's good. It's a good scare though. You guys know this. I mean, it's
We like to
expecting
say
you and they
that.
follow your rules.
I think
It's
it's-
one way to do it.
It's the impulse. You just say, I might not be, I might be noticed. But that's still not
I think we all like don't remember. Like, these are just experience in it. And then when we get older, we
No one
just
would
get
ever
to
be scared for you.
more about
You're not
Let's take about 10 seconds.
It's worse. I
Yeah.
think they just have access to more content.
All right, let's bring it back in. 3, One.
Not me.
Alright, so I did hear respect. Any other one that you want to add?
Apathy as
Oh,
a,
that's
Yeah.
a good one.
Yeah.
Apathy. Good one.
I don't know if this is it or like if it's a misbehavior, I guess it is, impulsivity.
Yeah.
Just they have
The shouting
no,
out and.
they have no self-control, and it could be a teenage thing, I don't know if it's a generational, we were just talking about, is it generational with all the constant change of attention,
no, cause I was a jerk in middle school.
Yeah, that's good. I did the same thing when I was at age. I definitely had
Yeah,
impulsive
I have no
problems.
control.
If you happen to see, if you all of a sudden, oh, that behavior, we'll write it up here later, okay? So we'll definitely come back to those. Something that a buddy of mine, we always shared in common was that we thought that this was one problem, is that 95% of problems at school, so 95%, and I'm gonna say even with adults, consists of some form of task avoidance.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah.
So the task may be too challenging, or it's too easy, or we don't want to confront our colleagues about an issue that may be happening. So maybe we decide to talk to somebody else about it because we need to vent. Which, so natural human behavior is that we tend to avoid things that may be either challenging or uncomfortable. 95% of the time. Later on, we learn the skills as we grow up, as we mature in life, as we become adults and we gain more experience in life. Those issues typically we hone in on those skills and we get better at it. All behavior has a goal and an objective. There is not one behavior that a student will do that there's not some form of goal or some form of objective with it. Whether it's I need to go to the bathroom so they can get on their phone, every single behavior that you see. So going back to that impulsivity, there's an objective behind that behavior. They just don't act that way just because they don't act that way. And then finally, behavior is communication. If a student is misbehaving in your class, they're communicating to you. And the way that they communicate to us, it's not always the most ideal, because we say, you know what, I need to step out, I need a break. That's us, right, as adults. And our students, unfortunately, do not have, the majority of the time, the appropriate coping skills of how to deal with certain situations, especially if their home life is very stressful, right? So all behavior is a form of communication. Try to change your perspective to that. When you see a student acting out, ask yourself, why? Why is he acting this way? But there's got to be a reason, right? So I'm gonna discuss 6 strategies. These are not strategies. Oh my God! Like wow, you're the safe. No, you already know these. It's nothing. But later on we're gonna hone in on these strategies and then we're gonna create also a strategy that we all can use. Okay. So I'm gonna go pretty quickly with these strategies because it's not anything new that you're gonna hear. So strategy number 1 is try to avoid sarcasm at all costs. Now, if you know your students well enough, right, sarcasm can be used as long as it's not used in the presence of trying to just demean your students. Oh, yeah, you did that again? Or I'm gonna go ahead and call the office right now. Yeah, you keep doing that. Keep doing that, buddy. Yep. So avoid sarcasm. Why? You're gonna lose the respect of your students. You're gonna lose that trust. You're not gonna gain it. It's gonna be very, very challenging to be able to do that. Students will not be willing to learn in an environment of tolerable sarcasm. It just doesn't work. So that's huge. So really try to respect. I mean, once again, we're building character with our students, going back to that vision or the mission statement. We want to have strong character with our students, and when we utilize sarcasm, it just doesn't work. It doesn't align with our vision. Strategy 2, we've heard a lot of this, right? Greeting your students at the door. Be genuine with every single student. Try to really hone in on the strengths of each one of your students. Treat them as individuals. Look for opportunities to build a relationship with your student. And this is hopefully this YouTube, I don't know if this YouTube video will show up. I'll come back to it. On ABC, maybe some of you saw it, there was a teacher from North Carolina, I think Charlotte, and every morning his students, he's a 5th grade teacher, Mr. White. And every morning he would greet his students, and he had a very individual greeting. And that's what I was going to show you. So, you know, kids need that. When they see that you treat them as an individual, they need that, especially at this grade, at middle school, they really appreciate that. So always look for those opportunities. You know, this kind of aligns with strategy 2. Build a relationship, as we mentioned, with your students. Look for opportunities to connect with some of your the most challenging students. How? Identify the activities they enjoy. That's how. If you have a challenging student, find out what they like and make time for them. Every Friday, not almost every Friday, I would, at lunchtime, I would dress out and go play basketball with the kids. That's the only activity we really had at the school. So that gave me an opportunity to really build a relationship with them, and because a lot of the bad kids would play basketball, and they really enjoyed that. After school, I would play with them as well. So just find opportunities to be able to spend a little bit of time, and when they see you outside of the education, outside of your classroom, they really appreciate that. So this is a good one. This kind of ties with building a relationship. You want to have a positive classroom culture. This individual here, his name is George Corris, and I'll email you this slide as well as his website. Some great insight on just the character of the students and different strategies that we can utilize in the classroom too. It's just really great resources that he has. But these are the 10 easy ways to create an amazing classroom culture this year. So I'll share that with you. Great insight right there. I like number 4. Call parents early. For me, I used to always call them like, hey, your son's gonna be out for 2 days. So I'm definitely gonna try to do this one. Strategy 4, be consistent, right? Steer or stay the course. Be consistent with your expectations and rules. And it's okay to sometimes if you want to change an expectation. I remember I would always do, every Monday I would do my updates with the kids. So if there was something that needed to be addressed or that I saw that we needed to tighten up on, I was consistent that every Monday we had our updates. And they knew what was to expect for the remainder of the week. So that's what I used. So just make sure that whatever you have a solid routine with what you're doing, right? And with that comes, having a solid routine also, that includes transitions. Transitions are one of the number 1 places where problems happen. When you transition from one place to the other, whether it's from here down to the main school building or outside at recess time or at lunchtime, that's where we need to make sure that those transitions are tight. Now, if I'm correct, is it the teachers who is responsible for transitioning students from one place to the other? Is it the EAs?
It depends.
Okay. Well, regardless of who it is, it just, if we can create a culture at this school that transitions are tight. I'm gonna be very strategic, and I spend a lot of time. I look like, especially that lunchtime when they're coming, you will see me almost every day from when it's their lunchtime. I will be there, and then when they're leaving to go, do they go to recess after lunch? Okay, then that transition there, and then the transition from recess back up. That's another area that needs to be real tight. So,
can you describe what you mean by tight? 'Cause I
Tight?
feel like if that's an expectation, we should all be on the same page. Because I take them from my classroom to up here, or sometimes from up here to my classroom. So I just want to know what that looks like, what that expectation is.
okay. I haven't seen what it looked like in the past, but if I was the teacher here, my expectations would be the following. You have your hands to your side, arms length in front of the person that's in front of you, right?
In a line, I'm assuming.
Straight line, quiet transitions. No talking. No talking. It needs to be tight. That's what tight. That's how I define tight.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but that has not been what it looks like. So that's going to be tough, and it might be a good idea for somebody to
Yep.
like tell them this is what the expectation is for every single transition. I'm sure you have that planned, but I just they're gonna push back on that one.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, and I'm gonna push back hard.
Yeah, good.
So no problem. So yeah, let me make a note of that because I tend to forget things. So hold on, don't worry. I like what I said. If you tell me something, I'm not gonna. I write it down. That's my strategy.
What are the big differences in are they usually talking, or like what's the difference between the two?
Yeah, I mean they still talk. They can't yell. But I was told that they can talk quietly, and we don't. I haven't been keeping them in the single file line. That is something that I feel like we should do. So I'm certainly not opposed to it, but yeah, they're gonna be angry
My
about
thing
that
in
one.
the past, oh, sorry.
No, perfect.
Like I go to the library every other week, and so I do that. And basically, my rule is if we're in a building, there's zero talking whatsoever. But if we're outside, because we kind of take this long winding loop, I'll let them talk amongst themselves quietly. They kind of walk in small clumps. Doesn't need to be an exact line. And so that's kind of been the standard. Is like when they're in the building, they know to be in a line, and they know to be silent. But when they're outside the buildings, kind of in between, they can quietly talk amongst themselves. At recess, they usually get pretty loud, coming from lunch and all that. So it hasn't been a very quiet transition when they're out of the building. The kids know that when they're in the buildings that they need to be quiet. It's more
I don't
outside.
think they really do that though.
Well, they should.
Yeah, I agree. I'm sure you've told them to.
Yes.
I'm not doubting that, but I don't think they necessarily just turn it off. You know what I mean?
They
Like,
haven't mastered it
think-
by any
yeah,
means
yeah.
whatsoever.
I think it would be helpful if we had the same expectations
Oh, no, I completely
outside
agree,
and
yeah.
inside. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of been the.
Yeah,
it's been-
yeah.
We got a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If
we
you want quiet, and the thing is some of the outlook is these kids are coming to be young adults, and they walk in pairs quietly. Is kind of been the outlook for middle school per se, and it has gotten out of hand as far as the voices and the loudness. So we will have a lot of work to do because this is something going to be very, very new. So
Yeah.
it's going to be a work in progress quickly.
I was just gonna ask, I mean, we tend to dismiss like at lunch. 7th grade, we keep them a little bit tighter just because they're younger. So I will usually walk my class to the lobby and then they go out for lunch. But, you know, I mean, I want them to understand that they need to be respectful and quiet, but at the same time, I feel like they're leaving for lunch and they're excited. And I feel like constantly making them line up, constantly making them be quiet is just gonna like crush their spirit in a way. Not, maybe I'm being too.
I agree with that. I think they need a little socializing. I
Mhm.
mean, we like to socialize.
Yeah.
Being able to maybe be in pairs and talking quietly, I don't see why it's not possible if we can control the having in pairs and talking quietly.
Well, that's the thing. I think if you put them in pairs, they're not necessarily just going to talk quietly. You know what I mean?
I think we can ask them to.
Yeah, but then we're saying you can only talk to one friend.
Right.
Yeah.
So typically, go ahead.
And then you go to the lunchroom where, and you'll be down there, I'm sure you're gonna come out and see us, it is so
It's chaos.
loud in that lunchroom. I wore earplugs every day.
Yeah,
For
we
the
bought
last 3
earplugs
years.
2 years ago.
I've had earplugs in because it is so loud and I'm just they're expected to be quiet between here and there. The lunchroom is gonna become the only time
Then they can talk.
that these kids can talk. And I think, I just don't know what we're in for if it's just a single file, quiet, everywhere we go, which you tell me what to do and I'm gonna totally do what I can with help of others to do it.
I'm just concerned as when they do get a talk, cause they're quiet in the classroom, they're quiet in the hallways, the lunchroom and recess is gonna be the only time they have that access, even if they're gonna be made quiet when we line up and come back up here. I don't know how that's gonna turn out.
So let's propose the following. Here in a little bit, we actually are gonna have an activity where we're gonna actually identify a problem. So I think this is one problem, and we can do 2 separate groups, and then to identify this and find a solution to it, okay? So I think this is a perfect segue to be able to go into that. And then I think, let me see, this is the last strategy. Delay the consequence. This goes together with love and logic. This is one of the strategies, right? Delaying the consequence. And the reason why we want to do this is because when we're upset, it is difficult to become or to be rational. We're going off of our emotions because we're revved up. We say something that we later can't hold to, right? If you keep doing that, I promise you're gonna get suspended. No, we don't want to say that. So just delay the consequence. It gives you a chance that when you're cool and collected, you can come back to that, okay? And I'm not gonna spend too much time on this because next Thursday, I think it is, we're gonna spend more time on practicing some of these skills and role playing them, especially this one right here, delaying the consequence and what that looks like. Some people feel it's a lingo that you have to utilize, and the style that you go about it doesn't matter the style, but it's just the lingo that goes with it is what needs practice, because if we're not used to it, we just need that practice. So once again, I keep going back to this because this is what helps me come to work every day. If I believe in the vision, if I believe in the mission statement, then I have a why of why I come to school. So we've identified that problem, or one problem, right, with these transitions. So how can we help our students become exemplary character when they're transitioning? But at the same time, hold high expectations for them when they are transitioning. So we're going to be diving into that. So the first activity, what I would like for you to do, you know what? If you said you had note cards, because it would be a lot better, easier to use the note cards versus the sticky note. If we could, that would be awesome. This strategy here is called the 5-3-1. So what we're gonna do, what we'll do is let's divvy up the group into 2. We'll have this group over here and this group, and we actually only need 2 note cards.
Oh, okay.
Yep, just 2. Thank you. And we'll have one person who's the scribe, whoever wants to write this down, and talk amongst your group. What are the 5 main behavior concerns that you've seen? Okay, so that'll be the first step. What are the 5?
You sneaking out?
I don't see it.
So we're splitting into 2. Okay, see you later, guys.
I mean, this is something like okay.
I think just overall,
In general,
I know my number 1 is
I want to ask
speaking out of
there.
turn.
yes, my
Okay. Blurting out, not respecting the procedure.
We have,
I like that.
yeah, because
messing around with your
And
neighbor
from what
instead of.
I've heard
Just
from
one right
Kramer,
words.
this group is very big on that.
Disrespect.
And yeah, the little
Nope.
experience we
No,
had
they
with them
literally
last year.
couldn't. I couldn't get out any instruments with them. I tried 3 times.
It's our incoming
To
seventh
7th
grade.
grade. They couldn't handle anything. So.
depends on the class, I
Yeah,
think.
she's
Okay.
very structured, very.
You mentioned nonverbal stuff.
They might have been
Maybe
different.
like little,
Yeah.
little
No,
bits.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
You're looking at me like it might have been different. I was like, kind of happy to hear that you.
I mean, the locker, like to be
Compared to
specific,
others?
I have
This is heaven.
Lockers?
It's
Yeah.
hard to,
Passenger.
I have
duty.
people, you might do the bathroom
I
yourself,
think
or you might be talking to a student
I
in the classroom. You know,
It's very
you
difficult
and
to be
I
out there
all-
for the whole 5
Yeah.
minutes. It's the only break we get, and you know, so
So
there's
the Yeah, sometimes I run into the bathroom and I just hear
That's
something, so I'm like, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
It was
There's
triggered.
no one that, necessarily available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That don't have to be you guys.
Right.
Well, Kara at the end of last year started coming up after lunch, but it's, I mean, we have what, 5, 6 transitions every day, 6 transitions every day outside of lunch. She can't be up there for everyone, and
See, most of my concerns are
yeah. But then when you
They're
get downstairs
like
and gets
that
upstairs,
There's 3 locker areas.
attendance,
We got that, that
that
whole
kind of
holiday pass area.
Yeah.
yeah.
responsibility for that.
Yeah, crazy. So,
Right.
like, I don't think they would even be downstairs, but upstairs, I mean, it's worse when
It's
they're
the
going to
whole
lunch,
8th
and
grade.
there's attitude.
And that's the thing, the entire 8th grade is in that little area versus 7th grade. which
Yeah, they're
is
split up.
Split up, yeah, so we have the whole class.
I mean, there's always a few, but
So this group has 4 already.
Okay, we're behind.
Okay.
So we could just say, we're talking transition,
Um,
which would be our.
Sushi.
Yeah.
Acting up,
What else?
responsibility.
Bullying.
Bullying.
what about empathy?
Yeah.
Sometimes they're very
I think apathy, which I've said,
Yeah.
is a big
That's
one.
good.
That's
That's
really
really
hard,
hard,
but
but
that's-
that's-
Respect.
It's almost worse than shouting out.
They say
sometimes.
nasty stuff about someone, or
Yeah.
what's the,
Like,
they have a few respect for it.
They don't sometimes have the concept of how what they do affects everyone else. They're just
I mean,
kind of
Last
oblivious
year
to it,
with
like,
the
why are your
fire
feelings hurt? All I did was
There
tell
is,
you
and
your
I,
family's
and I,
terrible.
and I see it
we
getting
had any of
worse
those kinds
as
of issues.
the generation, they really
Well,
have
there's all
no
that stuff
connection
with the
to,
Instagram.
oh, I did,
and
I
all
did
that
something
too,
that.
so
Yeah,
that's
the
just
cyberbullying,
bullying.
yeah.
They really have no
Yeah.
understanding of that. They do
I mean,
not
and bullying is
own,
probably
they do not own their,
the biggest.
Yeah, I mean, the victims last year that it
Yeah.
looked like they were being empathetic, but it was because they were getting in trouble. They were actually like crying for themselves instead of.
My husband's a
Yeah. It's like, I'm so sorry I did that to you. I feel bad. I'm like, Yeah.
Calls are longer, yeah, the
Yeah.
classroom's all empty into that, so it's more teachers.
I mean, you and I can coordinate better in the issues and just talk plan, like, so if I see you running the restroom, I'll stand in the hallway and I'll run in and,
Sometimes,
we'll
yeah.
just try and
It comes out of,
alternate,
like, here's a
but it's hard, like, cause
And I think
see
both of
something-
us often talk to some individuals out.
Oh, pretty much every class I have kids that come up to me, like, chat about something, they want to talk about something,
Right.
yeah.
No more.
That's the only time you really get to
Yeah.
have this
I think
conversation.
we should
Yeah.
make it long.
And I guess we could try and move it to the hallway and say, hey, walk and talk with me.
It's not long. It's
We'll
not
help
long.
you.
We've
All the
never
8th
had
graders coming up, it's just
long.
And then you have kids coming in,
But now we are,
and you
yeah.
want,
Yeah.
They have the option, because you have to pay for them.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a weird layout here, there's not like just free flowing, you can go down the
but
hallway, like
the thing
sometimes
is
there's
when
a
they
classroom.
yeah, and there's like
We've had
3 or
this
4 different
snapshot
ways they
of
can
it.
go,
Yeah.
and I mean, I try to cut
Yeah.
down on that,
Maybe,
like, I
like,
don't,
say,
I try
shade
not to
it.
let them go
Two
through
or
my
three of them on
classroom,
there,
they
and
can
then,
see
you know,
it.
they're all down like this.
Well, we have like all 80, 90 kids.
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard to monitor.
Yeah.
Both 7th grade classes.
Just depends on how many people we got and all that.
Yeah, it's a nightmare.
You know, you tend to go to the bathroom, I just.
I remember one time last year I had to chase down
I
a
think
kid
it should
and I
be,
took all of them up the
you know,
stairs and
you
it
know.
was like
Yeah.
swimming.
Yeah.
I was like, get out of my way!
Yeah.
We don't have
Yeah.
a set.
Maybe you can ask.
So she has, you know, she has something on or something.
Yeah.
In my room, you're
It
not
does
allowed
seem
to
like
go.
one of the
Do not breathe.
problem spots.
At one point it was like, if it's not
There's
causing
a
a
lot of
problem.
Right,
but-
that was another
stuff
Yeah,
there too.
'cause
I
you-
was
yeah.
just hating
You
it.
could see it sticking out of their
Yeah.
pocket, but we weren't technically.
Yeah, that's the
supposed to
number
do
one
anything.
spot.
That's
Right.
actually, that's where
They
my
were actively
is
trying to do something with it.
And there's
Yeah.
things brought to the attention of if you leave the phone.
Yeah, oh yeah,
in their locker.
they're sneaky, for sure.
God forbid
Yep.
someone like, always have Columbine or something like that happens, your kid's phone is in their locker and here they are stuck in the classroom. I mean, you can't go that far. But it happens and it's getting more frequent.
So now, okay, so it looks like both groups have 5. Now what I want you to do is amongst each other, pick your top 3 now.
Pick the top three.
One, two,
Yeah.
three.
We might have that.
And I would actually combine the talking out of turn with respect for authority, because I think they're kind of, they come from the same place,
Yeah.
right? It's,
I would say
so I would say respect for authority would be the better kind of overarching category.
Well,
for
just
all
like,
that.
maybe just say your top two
bullying.
commonalities.
Okay,
Calls
here,
for
here's
all.
what it is.
It's annoying, but I think we have
That's
that.
behind it.
It's
I
not as
would
widespread,
say disrespect for me
yeah.
is number one. Okay, lack of motivation would be two.
Yeah, that
And through
the
the acting out. Okay, so, all right, so-
Let's say.
Yeah, there's only
three.
about 2 or 3 per class,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
maybe 5
Same.
tops. It's not,
Same,
It's not disruptive
Same
of
Well,
others.
yeah,
Typically.
Top two, and then maybe 5.
group projects,
Okay.
it's not fun.
I can
Putting
go
a
with
kid
the
like Josiah.
crew
Yeah.
1 through 3.
Oh, no, I just let it, you would.
Well, but it's different here, so it's hard for me to.
That's right, you like Mark, yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah, so like, it's kind of.
Yeah.
What I've ever had in my life.
Like an Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, he just
She's-
literally doesn't care about anything. I know.
It's a-
I know. Yep.
Pick the top one.
Oh.
You guys agree?
Yep.
Now pick the
Yeah.
top
Well, the disrespect that
Yeah.
can ruin your day.
What would it be?
So we're gonna go
Empathy or lack of motivation.
Well, we couldn't.
So which one is your top one?
Okay.
Disrespect,
So,
top one.
respect.
I said it already.
Okay.
I feel like, I was just gonna say, I feel like respect covers both transitions and bullying.
And bullying it
The
does,
things
yeah.
that they do are disrespectful.
Yeah.
Disrespect
Okay,
and
yeah,
acting up.
respect.
Acting up is very large.
Yes.
It's not just respect for authority, but respect for each other.
Right, yeah.
Um,
They were just saying the same thing.
How about you
Yeah,
guys?
so standards all across.
All right. Okay, great. So
it doesn't belong to
You see now, and I didn't. This was not an experiment by no means. It just happened to work that way. That both teams take respect. So it just happened to work that way. And that's once again. But that goes back to what I said in the beginning. That respect is like that principle. It can cover so many things. So what I loved when I worked at a school, and what I loved about that school is that we only had 2 rules. I loved it. Respect. And don't take away from the learning of others. Because it covers, it covers so much. And so anyways, but let's talk about this respect, okay? I have a solution to set the tone right off the bat with middle school. Middle school is a very challenging grade. The previous school, K through 12, I would say that middle school, the 8th graders were the most challenging at that school, where the 7th graders were, actually, it was the 7th graders that were the most challenging, the 8th graders were these angels. So let's talk about this respect. Today was a great opportunity to be able to collaborate with our middle school teachers. We did a professional development around the behaviors. We understand that it doesn't matter what school you go to, you're always going to have behaviors. We looked at 5 strategies. Nothing out of the ordinary. But what I really enjoyed is the 5-3-1 method. We divided the group into 2. Then each group identified 5 behaviors that they remember last year that were a problem. Then we were able to narrow it down to 3 behaviors, and finally just to 1 behavior. The interesting thing is that both groups, and it just happened to work this way, that both groups decided that respect was the number 1 behavior problem that we were having at the school. Respect aligns together with the vision statement that we have that goes, or a piece of it that goes into holding high standards for our students as well as building character. How are we going to go about doing that? Well, we discussed making sure that transitions, that we're having respectful transitions from the school to specials, also at lunchtime. We looked at also making sure that we are all on the same page with setting the same routine and standards during transitions, as well as having an assembly, a school-wide assembly with our middle school class and faculty
to discuss what transitions and the expectations as well. I asked about if we had PBIS already in place. The school had mentioned, or the middle school team had mentioned that they hadn't yet. So we're looking forward to being able to incorporate PBIS, and I definitely got to give a shout out to Mike Miles, as well as Nikki Nowinski, who I've learned a tremendous amount from them, and her Habits of Success template, her rubric that she had established when we were together over at Pikes Peak Prep. We're going to be utilizing and embedding that at Colorado Springs Charter Academy, so I'm looking forward to being able to do that as well. So I also look forward to being able to record several of the professional developments. I would like feedback, just to be able to hone in on my skills, and not only that, but have a timeline of improvement of areas that we've been able to improve, and then other areas that maybe we need to continue being able to create a very efficient, systematic process of how we deal with behavior. That's all we got for today.